You know that carton of milk in your fridge? Seems pretty simple, right? Well, the journey it takes is actually this incredible, high-tech process that most of us never ever get to see. So let's dive in and find out how it all really works. So how does milk really get from the cow all the way to your curtain? I mean, you'd think it's pretty straightforward. But the truth is, it's this carefully choreographed dance between animal biology and some seriously sophisticated machinery. Let's pull back the curtain and take a look. Okay, so for thousands of years, there were basically two ways to get milk. You had the natural way, right? A calf using a mix of vacuum and tongue pressure. And then you had the old school way, milking by hand. But the milk that you and I buy at the grocery store, that comes from a third method, the mechanical milker. And that's what we're going to focus on, because understanding this piece of tech is really the key to the whole modern dairy industry. All right, so how on earth does a machine do this job safely and comfortably for the cow? I mean, it's not like you can just use simple suction, right? That would be harmful. The actual technology is way, way smarter than that. It's designed specifically to mimic what a suckling calf does naturally. And the secret? Well, it all comes down to this one brilliant device, the double-chambered teacup. On the outside, you've got this rigid shell made of metal or hard plastic for structure, but inside, that's where the magic is. There's a soft, flexible rubber liner. This two-part design is the absolute heart of the whole operation. See, instead of just a constant, uncomfortable pull, the machine works in this really clever two-phase cycle. It switches back and forth between a milking phase, where it's drawing out the milk, and a relaxation phase. And this rhythm, it's absolutely critical for the cow's health. It keeps the blood circulating properly and prevents any kind of tissue damage. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how that actually works. During the milking phase, a vacuum inside that rubber liner gently opens up the teat canal and the milk starts to flow. But then, and this is the key part, the machine's pulsator lets air into the space between the hard outer shell and the rubber liner. This makes the liner collapse and gently massage the teat. That massages everything. It gets the blood flowing again, just like a calf would naturally. It's this constant vital rhythm. Pull, then release. Pull, then release. But, you could have the most advanced machine on the planet, and it would be totally useless without the right prep. This isn't just about flipping a switch. It's a partnership with a living, breathing animal, and you've got to get the cow ready for it to work. So, every single milking starts with this strict, methodical routine. First up, the udder and teats are washed with warm, sanitized water. This not only cleans them, but it also feels good to the cow. Next, everything is dried off completely. Cleanliness is king here. And finally, the farmer draws out the first few streams of milk by hand into a special cup. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of extra work, especially on a big farm with hundreds of cows. But trust me, these steps are totally non-negotiable. And there are some really, really important reasons why. Yeah, every single one of those actions has a specific job to do. That warm wash and touch, it actually stimulates a hormone that causes what's called milk letdown. That's the cow's body physically agreeing to release her milk. Drawing out those first streams clears the canal, gets rid of milk that has a naturally higher bacterial count, and, this is huge, it serves as a daily wellness check. The operator can spot any issues with the milk immediately. All right, so we've got the process down for one cow. Now let's zoom out and see where all this happens on a much bigger scale, the modern milking parlor. I mean, dairy facilities have transformed so much over the decades. What used to be these really labor-intensive barns, where workers had to move from cow to cow, have now become these hyper-efficient centers, all designed around cow comfort, safety, and productivity. And a huge part of that efficiency comes down to the design of the parlor itself. You'll usually see one of three main styles: stanchion, herringbone, and parallel. They're all just different answers to the same puzzle. How do you milk large groups of cows safely and ergonomically? So the stanchion barn is kind of the classic old-school setup. The cows are housed in their own individual stalls, and the milker has to bring a mobile milking unit to each one, all the way down the line. It's effective for smaller herds, but as you can imagine, that is a ton of walking and hauling equipment for the worker. And that's exactly why group parlors were invented, to bring the cows to the milker instead. In a herringbone design, the cows walk onto an elevated platform and stand at an angle. This gives the operator, who stands in a lowered central pit, fantastic access. A similar concept is the parallel parlor, where cows stand side by side, perpendicular to the pit. This makes the whole setup even more compact, further reducing the worker's movements. Okay, so the milk is collected. The job's done, right? Nope, not even close. In fact, two of the most critical steps for guaranteeing safety and quality are just about to begin: rapid cooling and meticulous cleaning. The second that warm milk leaves the cow, it's literally a race against the clock. The first benchmark is to get it chilled below 10 degrees Celsius, that's 50 Fahrenheit, within 4 hours from the start of milking. And the process doesn't stop there. It has to be brought down even further, below 7 degrees Celsius or 45 Fahrenheit, within 2 hours after milking is all done. This rapid cooling is what halts bacterial growth in its tracks and preserves that freshness. And that brings us to the single most important principle of producing quality milk. After it leaves the safety of the udder, the number one risk for contamination isn't the air or the environment, it's the equipment that the milk touches. That's why modern dairies rely on these incredible automated systems called cleaning in place, or CIP. After every single milking, this system automatically flushes the entire network, every cup, hose, pipeline, and tank, with a precise sequence of rinses and sanitizers, ensuring everything is sterile for the next use. So when you think about it, from the cow's natural biology to the clever engineering of the pulsator, all the way to the rigorous protocols of cooling and cleaning, the journey of milk is like a symphony where every single link in the chain has to be perfect. It really makes you look at Bout's simple carton in a new light, doesn't it? And it leads to a bigger question. What other everyday things that we take for granted depend on such a complex and invisible world of technology just to reach us?